MSNBC legal analyst Katie Fang and Michael Allen, managing director of Beacon Global Strategies. And that tweet that you just heard referenced is this: while all agree the U.S. president has the complete power to pardon, why think of that when only crime so far is leaks against us? Fake news. Michael, if pardons aren't being discussed on the team, why are a couple people saying pardons are being discussed on the team? It's a little confusing.
It's confounding. You did hear Scaramucci sort of that the topic had come up within the general vicinity of the president. So clearly the topic has come up. It's much discussed here in Washington. I think the key point here is that we are on legal ground that we have not gone over before. I mean, this is the reason God created law review articles and constitutional law professors, to try and figure out whether indeed the president could pardon himself, and indeed whether he were to pardon his son-in-law or anyone else in his family, would that launch an impeachment proceeding? My view is that that is the surefire way to get impeached and maybe even removed, and that is to abuse the pardon power.
What they're all saying, though, is that even if they're saying we may have mentioned it or talked about it, we don't need to really have that information because there's nothing here that's been done that's wrong. Katie, let's talk about his statement that he, as the president, has the complete power to pardon. Who can the president pardon?
Well, Trump likes to speak in absolutes, Chris, that we're familiar with. There is no legal precedent as to the self-pardon of Trump to himself, and there also is nothing in the United States Constitution that says that he's specifically prohibited from doing it. So weighing those two things, could a self-pardon happen? The answer is yes. Would it be challenged all the way up to the United States Supreme Court? Most definitely. So then, Chris, what becomes important about that analysis is, can Trump stack the justices on the United States Supreme Court to be such that they would be ruling in his favor should that
is that where we are now? We're talking about the Supreme Court justices? What? I mean, it feels like it's 6 months into an administration.
It's pretty outrageous.
Well, I don't want to, categorize it one way or another, but let us talk a little bit about the strategy of pardoning. I mean, the courts have upheld pardons in situations even where no charges have been filed. But he preemptively, Michael, decide, I'm just going to give a blanket pardon to the people in my administration. I mean, it's possible?
I think it's possible. I wonder all the time if that's not what he has in up his sleeve. He's clearly so deeply annoyed by this investigation. Indeed, of course, as you and others have stated on your air on numerous occasions, he feels like this is fake news. It cuts to the core of his legitimacy as president. I could easily see him going there. I mean, the president is not one for norms or traditions and the rest, and I think I can see him taking an absolutist reading here.
But here's Jonathan Turley's take on it. This is what he wrote today. But pardons would not end the investigation. Even if everyone were pardoned, Mueller could and probably would issue a report to Congress. Likewise, the congressional investigations would continue. Indeed, with pardons, witnesses could lose protections against self-incrimination and could more easily be forced to testify. New crimes such as perjury could fall outside of the pardon, and such a pardon would not protect against state charges. Katie, what do you make of that?
Well, that's true. That's a good point, because pardons do not cover state offenses. And so if you end up perjuring yourself, you could also look at exposure for that, which is why it's important to also look at, why did Jared Kushner not take the oath today when he went to go speak to the Senate Intelligence Committee? Frankly, you don't have to take an oath, as we've heard already, and the analysis is there is a federal statute under which you can be prosecuted if you lie to Congress, even when you haven't taken an oath. So, it's a really squirrely area of the law, and Turley is completely right that it exposes not only Trump, but people around him to further criminal and civil liability if they're caught in some type of wrongdoing.
One thing that is consistent, a lot of the time we're talking about uncharted territory here.
Yes.
Katie Fang, Michael Allen, thanks to both of you.